There is a fine and sometimes not so fine line between taste and offensive, especially when it comes to Halloween costumes. We want to show you this. Two British college girls wore costumes depicting the Twin Towers being attacked. And a 20-year-old Michigan woman dressed up as a Boston Marathon bombing victim. What should we make of this? Well, we put it to our panel. Here, once again, CNN political commentators Will Cain and Mark Lamont Hill. I actually want to produce on the fly here, maybe call this segment, What the Beep Were They Thinking?
I don't get it.
I'm going to let you take this one. Go ahead.
Give me this one. No, I think it's stupid. I mean, again, obviously the straw argument is, people have a right to do what they want. We all agree. You can do it. The question is,
there some
should you?
Societal norms and
just being a decent person.
Right.
Somebody whose family was part of the Boston bombing is watching TV, is on the internet, is seeing these things.
Still suffering
They're
from
suffering.
the trauma.
So you're saying just because you have the right to do it doesn't mean it's right to do it.
Exactly.
That's what you're saying.
It's that simple, and I can't imagine.
But how about the reaction? How about the reaction from everybody else at the costumes?
And the reaction has been incredibly violent. Some of the girls in some of these instances have been given, have received death threats, have been told they're going to be raped, their throats. I mean, the reaction has been seriously frightening.
You know what's interesting about that, actually, is the crowd reaction is important. Because I agree with Mark. First of all, you got to separate this. People start talking about censorship and First Amendment. This has nothing to do with those things. That's about
don't
government.
Go down that road.
We're talking about society. And society should condemn this. If we're all outraged, and I think we all are, then this is the way you deal with it. It's social ostracization. You need to be shunned. You don't need to have death threats. You don't need to have these other things. But people need to make you very aware what you just did is not acceptable.
Let me ask you a question. What is the line between acceptable and not acceptable? Because
Do you think you have a gut feeling?
I do. I mean, I know you don't come with a smoking tower on, but there might be some line where you have an edgy, fun costume.
Making fun of victims.
Making fun of victims.
Is that the line?
Making fun of innocent victims, I think, is going to get you there. I think there's certain things, it's like when you dealt with pornography, that you just know it when you see it. Obviously, the Twin Towers, obviously the Boston bombings, because you're making fun of national pain, you're making fun of victims. But that line then gets real blurry real fast for me, especially where PC, political correctness, comes in. This is a no-brainer. So we'll cherry pick.
So let's talk about political correctness versus just knowing that it's not right. It's not your gut tells you it's not
because you're
okay.
right. We talked about this. What was it? A couple weeks ago, where there was a university saying
Colorado Boulder.
Thank you.
Of course it would be.
There's some crazy stuff going on in Colorado Boulder, but that they were saying you shouldn't have a costume that could offend anyone.
And they had a list.
That's where it gets tough.
Indians, cowboys.
That's actually my question to you. You're from Texas. Or is there something offensive about a cowboy?
I don't understand this.
The cowboy was a mistake. And, what is the point of PC? The point of it is to make us more sensitive. And my concern about it as we go forward and I see the rules is we start getting obsessed with what we say and appearances and not the actions that actually matter, not the behaviors that we want to reinforce.
But they're the same.
Do you think that there's a difference between this and what your gut tells you? We can overthink things, and I think that's where PC comes in. But I think your gut, your moral compass, we need to reset our moral compass.
Everybody's gut is. I'll give you a perfect example.
Maybe we need to do a collective reset of our moral compass.
I think we might. I went to a party and someone was dressed up like a starving African child, right? And
is this an if, or do you saw?
No, I was at a party and someone was dressed like a starving African child, and no one seemed to find this to be problematic. It wasn't a bombing victim, it wasn't a smoking tower, but it was an African kid. People didn't find it to be a problem. And to your point, Chris, I think what people think connects to what they do.
Now, do you believe that because this was you dressed up as the starving?
Yeah, right, exactly. I just look like that. My belly is just out.
Let me put a button on this thought. What's interesting, one of the British girls, her father, an airline pilot who was flying jets in the U.S. at the time.
And they say it wasn't a joke. And they say it wasn't a joke. They say it wasn't meant as a joke. They were doing it to make a point.
It was a depiction. Zombies, we can.
Well, there's the zombies that will be offended.
We're always going to have this problem.
I'm happy with
bottom line, when you said it's about guns, you compare it to obscenity. I know it when I see it. The problem is we don't all see it the same way.
It's always going to. Let us know what you think. Folks at home, please tweet us. Get in on the conversation. Use the hashtag.